Okay, this is MXUX. This is another segment. Now, this is an analysis I've been working on. This is my own view of the BEV market in the USA. And just bear with me and go through this step by step. I think you'll agree with me. Now, I think the key factor to this is the U.S. households, not houses, that can support home charging. I contend that only 40% of the households, and what I mean by household is, 2 to 3 people, whatever the unit size is, who are living in a house, a condo, an apartment, so forth. These are households. Only 40% of those households, again, not houses, but households in America, can support home charging. And either they're in a condo, that there's no way that they could provide individual charging. They'd have to redo the entire grid in the building and so forth. And a lot of homes are older. You really need, depending on what you're doing, 200 amp service. Now, there is some new technology out that provides the proper amperage right from the electric meter socket. And the name of the tech escapes me. There's 2 or 3 different competing brands of this. I think one is by Philips. I'm not certain. But what they do is you take the electric meter out, you put this socket in to where the meter plugged in, and then you plug the meter into the socket, and that taps right into the grid and gives you your line for charging. Now, that's one technology that could change this number somewhat, but they're having problems because the regulations are different in each state, and it's not getting wide acceptance. But that is really a product segment to look into if you're an investor at some point. So we've got 50 million households. 40% of the U.S. Households only ones that can support home charging. And if you extrapolate this into homeowners, which is the main segment, that is comprised of an income range from about 75 to 200K plus. So this is conveniently, and this may be by design by the manufacturers, about the income you need to, qualify for a loan to buy a battery electric vehicle. And so this is all coming together quite nicely from that aspect. But anyway, that's the state of things. 50 million households with an income range of 75 to 200K. That's it. 60% of the country, not there. From 20 to 21, BEV sales in the USA increased by 83%. So this is the growth sector that's hitting this 75 to 200K income range, 200K plus income range in the United States. So that is a growth segment. This is the target market for battery electric vehicles. This is the sweet spot which Tesla owns right now. Over the last 12 years, cumulatively, there's been 2.5 million BEVs of various types have been sold in the USA. So, and of course, in the more recent years, there's more of these and so forth, but something like that, okay? So, approximately 47 million battery electric vehicle sales to first-time buyers, one per viable household, are a potential market in the USA with present technology. So If you could, everyone that's qualifies, if you sell one to each household, that's 47 million vehicles. You're not going to sell 47 million vehicles at one time in the country, but this is the TAM, total addressable market, with present technology in the United States. 0.8 million BEVs were sold in the USA in 2022. So we've got, 46.2 million potential sales on the table to viable customers who qualify to buy the vehicle and have access to home charging. So this is, I guess, a more polished version of the TAM. That's it. So that's a pretty big addressable market with a good income level, and this is a sweet spot that everybody's going for in the battery electric vehicle manufacturer game. Okay. So we got 6% of auto sales were battery electric vehicles in 2022. And that is an increase from 2.6% in the previous year. That is like 100% increase over 1 year. So the CAGR, 100%. So this is a market segment that's on fire, and it's ready, willing, and able to buy these cars if they make the right car, and so forth, and the reliability and so forth. Now, interestingly, during the same period where the CAGR on BEVs was 100%, internal combustion engine sales fell 8%. Okay? So you can see here where the growth in the market is, why the GM and Ford want to get into battery electric vehicles. I think, they're going to be left in the dust with a shrinking market share unless they do. But I think that explains a lot. And it shows you that investment-wise, battery electric vehicles is where you want to be. Let's just move on here. Now, this is the case for robo-taxi fleet BEVs, which we're talking about here with the Tesla Tau and the MIH Project X, which we're assuming is going to be, the program is going to be developed by Lordstown Motors, LMX, at Foxconn's BEV development plant center in Lordstown, Ohio, for the world market. But let's just stick with a generic robo-taxi fleet battery electric vehicle. This is the case for that. So 60% of U.S., and this is U.S. only, 60% of USA households don't support home charging and don't financially qualify to buy a new BEV. So that is the majority of the market. And this is the market which are not going to sell or lease a BEV to, most likely. Therefore, the majority of the population, particularly in larger metro areas, can't reasonably own a BEV. So you've got an a open market segment here, an unmet need. Now, new battery technology or charging technology may change this in the future. They're talking about put charging in the roads themselves, inductive charging, cables in the roads and so forth. Battery technology may require charging once or twice a year. Who knows, right? But right now, under the present conditions, this is the robo-taxi market. 60% of households in the USA. And before the BEV robo-taxi takes over, Uber and other, perhaps I have here BEV OEM owned, and this is Tesla, and this perhaps may also be Foxconn, MIH, human operator BEV ride-hailing services will bridge the transition to full self-driving. So in other words, before we have, automated robo taxis, we're going to have Uber-like services, whether they're owned by Uber Fleet cars, or they're owned by OEMs like Tesla, putting out a special fleet vehicle and owning that fleet and hiring human drivers. But anyway, this is going to transition to the full self-driving BEVs. But, especially if you use fencing in medium to large urban areas where you have concentrations of population, and if you have these battery electric vehicles operating on a limited number of mapped streets, you could figure out the most commonly used streets and so forth. I mean, you could have a limited robo-taxi service, initially with a human behind the wheel, but certainly afterwards. In Colorado, they have this now with, I'm trying to think of the robot, but they have mapped roads, and they are running robo-taxis. And in a geofenced area with mapped roads, this is attainable pretty much with present technology. And as I said, in Colorado, they're offering driverless cars that provide this service. My goodness, I can't think of the operator that's operating that fleet. But this is, this is easily possible, and this is a market segment that would use, you look at the use of Ubers now in these areas, and by eliminating the human driver, you could get the transportation costs down so low. I mean, this is a no-brainer. I think this is really doable within the four. I mean, they could do it now, depending on regulations and so forth, and the willingness of the companies to invest in the mapping and so forth. So anyway, the cost savings offered by BEV fleets are too compelling to expect ICE vehicles will continue to fill this role much longer. I mean, if you just look at oil changes or fuel versus charging an electric vehicle, any metric you want to use, this is the next growth segment, logical growth segment outside of ownership, direct ownership. And I think it could be very profitable. And you need, in my opinion, a purpose-built vehicle for this kind of activity, and that would be the Tesla Tau and the MIH Project X. Very interesting. Anyway, this is my analysis of the market and why I'm bullish on this concept. And also, I cover Lordstown Motors. I also cover Tesla, but both of these companies are pivoting, in my opinion, exactly following this strategy. All right, this is MXUX. I hope you like that presentation.